let's start off first by introductions. Adam, maybe you go first, and we'll work our way back over here.
Yeah, so my name's Adam Kagi. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of XRP Cafe. We're an NFT marketplace that started in late 2022, and so we're one of the leading NFT marketplaces on the XRPL. I've been a developer since 2017 in the blockchain space. Started out in the EVM world and just kind of found myself on the XRPL. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Ahmed.
Hi, I'm Ahmed Raza. I'm the founder and CEO of Yobi. We're building synthetic agents that we call Yobis that take care of marketing, sales, and customer service. So it's your best salesperson that you train. And I have a synthetic clone right now that's actually having conversations on social media, is closing more leads for me right now. I'm very much in the AI space. I haven't really been in the crypto space, but I'm here because I think blockchain and like real hardcore tech that was developed during this era is going to change everything. It's actually part of the future, and it is actually very cool to be here now.
I totally agree. Dapper Johnny.
Hey, my name is Johnny Zhang. Thanks for having me here. My background's in real estate, like you. We're not really in the crypto world until recently. So we managed over $2 billion worth of real estate in Southern California and worldwide. I also own an investment bank, so we're also in finance as well. I am a founder, creator of USP, United States Property. It's a security token that's representing a fractional ownership of a real estate, and which is registered with SEC as a security token here.
Fantastic. I'm Joe Rosinski. I'm based in D.C., Washington, D.C. I'm a technologist and a futurist, so I spend a lot of my time focusing on different types of technology that will eventually impact us in many different ways. For better or for worse, I've been involved in blockchain with Bitcoin since 2011, mining, going through the issues of Mt. Gox, which have yet to be solved, but we're moving towards the right direction. I think Ahmed and I were both talking about that. I've minted several tokens back in 2017, been in NFTs as well, and working on a DAO now. So that's a little bit of background, a little context. All right, so what we're trying to do is tee up this idea that, all right, there's a lot that happened, certainly within the last several years, within the last year in particular. What has led us here? Like, what broke, and what will we be able to fix? And then we'll get to the parts of DeFi. Will DeFi potentially fix these types of solutions? And then ultimately, I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the AI agents or things that are in that space. It brings us in full circle. So Adam, we talked about this a little bit. What happened? Like what really truly broke, and what could we do better about that?
Yeah, I think some of the CeFi markets really went through some of the bust cycles that the TradFi markets went over, over multi-decade period, but they just went bust much quicker. So you had, a bust every year and a half. And I feel like there's been a big, disconnect between the user experience of Web 2 and Web 3. And, DeFi is a great way to bring in self-custody and other features that the TradFi markets have never been able to do. But that disconnect, really based on the UI level, has never really existed. So I feel like we need more bridges between Web 2 and Web 3. And, some of these platforms like what we're doing in our NFT marketplace is bringing in some payment processors that will be able to custody those NFTs and allow users to buy with credit cards or other, payment methods, and make it more comfortable for the user to onboard.
Very well said. Johnny, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. I came from finance, so I think what's broken is after 2008, people lost trust in the Wall Street and financial system, and there as well as recently, Fed just keep printing more money and more money. Their money is literally worth less every day. So people are looking to different rail, different solutions, right? I think that's why the whole crypto industry is booming, right? Bitcoin is created because of they want a different solution alternative to the financial system, right? So I think the problem was because it's growing so fast, there's not enough regulation around it. The collapse of FTX, all these other things, the CeFi is because of there's no regulation. People are just literally running Ponzi schemes out there. It's not because of the technology is bad. It's bad human ethics, right? So DeFi is great. You can self custody, and you don't need a middleman to trade to transfer value peer to peer, and I'm all about it. But when you put your tokens in exchange, you have them custody for you. It's no different than traditional finance, right?
Totally.
Right. So
So Ahmed, I know that you are one of the OGs in this space. I mean, you've seen all the cycles from the very early days. What's your? I know. Then also you sort of like, do I really want to deal with this anymore? Like this seems to be too much. What's your belief in this whole thing?
So yeah, just I got into Bitcoin when it was $8, and we mined hundreds of them. Lost most of it to Mt. Gox, and then the entire space changed. It was really hardcore geeks, and then it wasn't just hardcore geeks. There was a lot of greed around it, and like what Jay Z said here is that it's not the technology so much, like you said, what broke. It's really the humans. Most of the times, it really is the humans. Like people get overhyped, and going through the AI hype cycle right now, it's really important to understand like fact from fiction. I'm really bullish now about blockchain because of AI. I feel like we were talking about this earlier. Uh, Crypto was cool for smart people, for really smart people, but it was really inaccessible to everyone. And here's a crazy opinion: I don't think Web3 was really for humans. I think Web3 is for synthetic agents because if his grandpa can't use Web3, then is it really a technology that democratizes and decentralizes and does all this fancy stuff? But what good is it? But I'm sure if Grandpa could speak to you, and we were just having this conversation, so I'm bringing it back up, right? If Grandpa could speak to a conversational agent that is kind of a digital clone of him that speaks specifically around crypto intelligently, like a developer who actually understands it and verifies it, that would totally change the game. The user interface fundamentally changes. That to me is the big promise of AI, and that's what I'm currently experiencing myself. I'm able to have more meaningful conversations. I'm able to be more present. I turn off notifications on my phone, and I'm still conversing. I'm currently conversing with hundreds of people, applicants, job applicants, and folks reaching out for different things because I want to be nice. I want my digital clone to also be nice and perpetuate that. Speaking of blockchain, how do I now make sure that my voice isn't used for something that I don't want it to be used for? I think some artists recently found out. Hello, Drake.
Right.
One way to do that is to make sure that I own my data.
Yeah.
Ahmed Reza owns his, and it's backed up on the blockchain. Like
Yep.
that's going to work for me because there's an alternative version of the future. This AI is definitely here. There's an alternative version of the future where one company controls everything, and we live in a RoboCop world where we're all slaves to the AI. There's a different one where we own our own data, where we actually take a lot of the innovations from the crypto revolution and implement it finally for everybody.
No, totally. And I definitely want to hear more about the digital twins in a second, like actually tangibly what's working in the background, how you're doing that, because it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. This is the direction we're all going to go in, no question. So before we get there, and it's a part of it, it's a bridge, is the whole space in DeFi. So Adam, what are your thoughts on DeFi right now? How could this potentially save us going forward? Is it, do you see any issues with it?
I think DeFi is an extremely beneficial way to get away from the TradFi markets and allow users to basically empower themselves into self custody and but like I said, I think most users don't want to custody their own funds. They don't want to spin up wallets. They don't want to create those processes that will basically give them all of that control. A lot of users, especially that are used to those traditional, banking rails, they want some kind of custody solution. They want some kind of middleman. They want that safety blanket essentially. And I think that's where the big disconnect, and that's where kind of AI will come in to, improve that customer experience and create some of those safety layers and, kind of bridge that disconnect between Web 2 and Web 3, and that's what we really need.
So quick follow-up then to Johnny. What about multi-sig? Do you think that helps significantly in that space for you? Like Adam, do you think that's a security mechanism that really helps?
I mean, multi-sig does, but I think, when it comes to like the UI layer, we still need custody solutions. A lot of people, what we found, and at least our company, is that the hardest part is just the onboarding process of spinning up a wallet, funding that wallet, and getting the users to actually interact with the blockchain, right? And so, um, having some kind of middleman to be like, hey, we're going to custody that NFT for you. We're going to take care of everything, and we're going to make it a Web2 experience, but it's still Web3 in the back end. It's still, and that kind of softens the user up to be able to be more comfortable with self custody.
Amazing. Johnny, you got a great story around real estate. Can you share a little bit about that in this space?
Yeah, sure. So USP is fractional ownership of real estate, similar to REITs, except it's on the Web3, on the blockchain. So people can basically buy fractional ownership of real estate and then store in their own wallets without buying through a broker dealer. Like if you buy a REIT shares, if you buy through a broker dealer, then you actually don't self-custody your own shares, right? So if you bought Apple stock or anything, I mean, if you want to say send a stock to your relative outside of the country or anywhere, you have to essentially the only option is to sell that stock, then get your money back, pay your taxes, or if you lost money, then that's fine. Then withdraw your money, then send it around. The intention wire takes what, $25? You send, take a few days. But if you have a security token, you can literally withdraw that security token within your wallet. You can give to anybody, anywhere, 24/7. That basically bridge, allow everybody in the world to basically have the ownership of a tangible real-world asset through the DeFi blockchain technology, right? That's one of the perfect use case. So we think tokenization of a real world asset is actually going to improve, the current system. It's going to make everything a lot bit better, right? So I mean, I think DeFi is so important right now because I think all these countries trying to do this central bank, digital currency, when everything's tracked on blockchain, you literally lose all your financial privacy. That's so you have alternative where you are not forced to use the government supported like central bank digital currencies is so important right now, and then because the Fed just keeping putting more money in, so as other countries, the fiat currency is literally worth less than. That's not. I don't even want to hold fiat currency anymore, right? So having a real world asset being tokenized and people can have maybe all like think the values is something they can accept as a new alternative medium of exchange, I think is important, right?
No, great point. So I spent a lot of time talking to folks about the tokenization of all assets. So imagine like this house or another building, and you want to sell it, right? So you want to sell to a bunch of people, and you tokenize it so that everyone can get a potential token share of that. How far away are we from that, do you think?
So it depends on how you want to do it, right? If you want to sell the whole house, right, and as a one piece together, then that's NFT, right? You can do that right now, right? There's people doing that, but the issue is, and the deed of the house has to be recorded in the county's office, and then you have to when you normally buy a house, you have to go through a title company, go through escrow, have to do physical inspections. Well, a lot of buyers actually buy house sight unseen, so they can skip that step. That's okay, but for you to transfer actually the title to your name, just having NFT doesn't mean anything. The county record office have to accept your transfer on the NFT as an authenticated transfer, right? So until they accept it, I don't think that's really going to happen. But I think we're moving towards the right direction. Right now, what we're doing is basically allow fractional ownership to transfer. That makes it scary. That's like regulated by SEC. There's a lot of restrictions we have to go through, but it's working right now. So that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I think like in the United States or maybe in Europe, it's probably less likely it's going to happen right away. But maybe in areas that you have leapfrog technology, that they may not have the deeds to properties. I mean, they say like 80% of the deeds around the world are not actually deeded to people. It's kind of like people aren't sure necessarily who technically owns that. If you've been squatting on that land, it's yours. So it's going to be fascinating to see that take off, I guess, in the DeFi space. All right, Ahmed. Bring us home with like what you see going forward as the future of technologies. And you started talking about it, but I'd love to hear specifically how your agents. I mean, how many agents do you have running right now for you on your behalf?
So I think the agents are just a simpler way of explaining how you can use AI because we personify it. I was speaking with some other folks here who said ChatGPT has become kind of like my buddy. And that's the ideal situation. You speak to your assistant or your synthetic agent. Understand that this thing is probably far better than you, has all of human knowledge, right? And that's why for it, crypto is not a challenge, right? For it to actually do a lot of these difficult things like onboarding wallets, right? You just say, hey, can you, here's an agent that you trust. It's built off of you. You've trained it. You have rapport with it. For business cases, it's pretty easy. Like you say, hey, don't say this, say this. But I see a future where these agents do everything from teaching to transacting to communicating with each other, even so much so that even if you don't have an education, when speech becomes the user interface, you theoretically don't even need an education to be connected to the web, to be connected and be able to bring value. Because you may have spent your life in the desert somewhere, doesn't mean you don't have value. You may have amazing things to teach the world, to tell the world, and now you're going to be able to do that. Now you're going to be able to actually tap into the brains of billions of people. And I do realize I sound like I'm talking about the Borg. So hello to all the Star Trek fans out there.
So what's left for us then, as humans?
So this is, again, philosophical stuff for me. I think humans need to lean into their humanity. As my AI clone is able to do things better than me, but it's able to do very technical things, very specific things better than me, you're still going to love me because despite all of my flaws and shortcomings, I am very human. And if we lean into our humanity, if we're nicer to each other, we make sure that we don't build tools of oppression and destruction, right? Because that is something that technologists often don't think about, right? They're just mesmerized by the tooling, but understand this can be a tool, especially paired with the technologies from blockchain, DeFi, right? You can build a world of plenty that's shared with many people. Your digital clone goes out and does work, and you earn the money from that. But now you can do things that this thing can't do. We're really good at predicting black swans.
Yeah.
We're really good at knowing that that's a horse carriage in front of me, in front of my Tesla, and not a semi truck that's going really slow. And that's really where I would tell my kids to lean towards, is like, be a better human being, be a better person, and we can literally live in a world that has enough to feed everyone, take care of everyone, and really come to fruition for the person that you were meant to be. Like, that doesn't sound bad to me.
No, it does not. So one, maybe last 15 seconds, any final thoughts, Adam, on any of this?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I guess, AI is only as useful as, it's kind of a philosophical thing, but AI is only as useful as long as there's continual human input. Because if you look at ChatGPT, most of that data is 2021 and less. And in order for it to be useful for humans looking into the future, we need continual human input, just to keep that process going, because humans evolve over time, just technology evolves, our culture evolves over time. So that AI needs that continued human input in order for it to be useful.
Amazing. John, any final thoughts?
I don't have much to talk about in AI, but I think DeFi is definitely is important. I think we should keep it going and don't be affected by all these like certified, centralized finance, fraud, whatever. I think we should just keep it going, and this is so important. Like I said earlier, especially on these kind of situation where the federal government trying to control everything, we need our freedom here. That's why we are here in America.
Very well said. All right, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Of course, Jordan and the Grit Daily crew for all the help. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.